Today we are honored to welcome Mr. Anand, founder and chair emeritus of Edu Girls, an organization dedicated to empowering girls through education, mentorship, and opportunity. Thank you for joining us. Before we talk about Edu Girls, please tell us a little about your childhood and the values that shaped who you are today.
My childhood was defined by being a refugee. We family resettled from Pakistan, and we hopped from place to place. And also, my father was the only person in the extended family who had a regular job. So there was a lot of support to the extended family that he provided. And my mother was very keen on education because she herself could only study till grade 8 because the town where she was studying didn't have a college there. And you had to go to Peshawar, 40 miles away for college. And she regretted that all her life. So she was a drill master with us to make sure we got a proper education.
For listeners who may be hearing about Edu Girls for the first time, can you please tell us about the organization's mission and vision?
Um, in conservative societies like India and South Asia and East Asia, girls are second class citizens in the family. They are expected to help out with family chores, and when the resources are tight, the boys get the preference. I'm talking about girls living in poverty. And when I finished at the World Bank, I was looking for development challenges. The biggest game changer known to development people working in development is educating a girl. And so I decided to work on this particular topic. It was not rocket science. We did some research, did some experimentation with the school in Jaipur that was willing to do some innovation. And we, over a period of 6, 7 years, we settled down into a package of services. If they were delivered as a package to a girl living in poverty, you could be sure that she would enroll, she would perform, and she'd go on and to be financially independent. We call that the 10 mantra package. And now we are happily going about replicating that program in many different cities in India.
What inspired the founding of Edu Girls and what problem were you hoping to address?
The real problem is getting quality educations to girls who live in the context of poverty. Uh, it's not rocket science, but it requires a lot of barriers to be overcome. And we try to make sure that every one of those barriers is overcome. And that's the problem we're trying to solve.
Why is investing in girls' education so important for creating long-term change?
Um, I worked at the World Bank, and they like to convert everything into numbers. And they did a recent piece of research about 2 years ago. Our global society is losing 13 trillion worth of GDP because we have not educated our girls globally up to high school. So if you wanted to just quantify the impact of girls' education, but really we know when a girl is educated, the family is transformed and the children are transformed, and child mortality goes down, and family rate of population growth goes down. So there are all kinds of multipliers which come. In fact, one of the World Bank estimates is for each dollar you invest in girl education, the social benefit exceeds $2. A huge return.
What are some of the biggest challenges girls face in accessing education and opportunities today?
I won't generalize for all girls. I'm talking about girls living in poverty, where the family has to make choices as to where it puts its limited resources. And in conservative societies, we well know parents believe that it's the male offspring that will look after them in their older age. So when they have to make a choice between investing in a girl or in a boy, the preference is always to invest in the boy. And the girl is kept at home to look after younger siblings, because both the parents have to step out of the house to put food on the table. And it is that particular context, the junction of a gender bias and poverty, that holds a girl back. And we try and break that nexus.
How does Edu Girls support girls beyond academics?
Um, yeah, there are, these girls are first time learners. Their parents didn't go to school. They don't have a role model at home. And they often lack the confidence that they can be a successful player in the modern marketplace. And so for that, you need confidence, you need, public speaking skills, you need uh, team leadership skills. Yeah. So we try to, and more importantly, where these girls live in the slums of India, there's always this fear of being molested. So self-defense skills. So our priority is first give them self-defense skills so they can, boys and people who will molest them will stay away. And then we give them public speaking skills. And of course, some have sports in their bloodstream. Others have uh, uh, our creative arts, dance, and things like that. All these are, ways to develop a personality, to develop that confidence, and be able to believe that they are as good as anybody else, except that they had the misfortune to be born in poverty. And we invest a lot of time in developing these, what we call life skills.
Can you share a success story of a student whose life was transformed through Edu Girls?
uh, I was in Jaipur recently, and we had a first meeting of about that. There are 39 girls in Jaipur who have graduated out of Vimukti school and are actually in jobs. So we brought them together for an afternoon of sharing experiences and creating the first alumni association. And Swati Bagel was selected as the president of the Alumni Association, and she has an extraordinarily interesting career, being from a family of six. The family income was 15,000 rupees, which translates to $3 a day. And she persevered through her education despite all kinds of challenges. Family did have support, and now she did a certificate in customer care, and now she has a job. She brings 22,000 rupees home, which is more than uh, doubling the family income. But more importantly, she actually decided to give back to the school her first month's salary in order to promote another girl's education. So Swati Bagel's career from, being a neglected girl in a family of six to actually going on to have a career and to be the president of the Alumni Association now and to be giving back to promote other girls' education is an extraordinary story for me. Swati Bagel.
How has the organization evolved since its early days?
We were a one-person shop in 2012 when we first started working. We went around the living room with some friends of mine, and we raised $9,000 and started supporting some girls in the school in Jaipur, where I got my first inspiration because there's a leadership group there which is very committed to helping girls in poverty break out. And we are still a bunch of volunteers. We have fortunately now been able to, we raised at the last gala last October $1.1 million. So people have begun to believe in what we do. We have a very strong sense of metrics. We measure everything that's conceivably possible to measure. And because of our impact being so well documented, and we, of course, encourage a lot of visitors to go, but we are still a voluntary organization. We have a board of 12, all are volunteers. We had one or two contract paid staffs, who do some accounting for us and do some communication and media work for us. But we are still a volunteer organization, and the transition is coming now since we have a good resource base. We have created a field office in India. It's a virtual field office in the sense that we have 6, 7 people on contract who work on our behalf with the schools and what have you. But we are in the process of creating a field presence which is meaningful and beginning to recruit some staff in a headquarters in Washington so that we don't rely on the goodwill of volunteers. Everybody has a life to lead, and we have to become a more normal looking organization rather than an organization run by a bunch of volunteers.
How often do people come in and volunteer for your organization?
Uh, we have a full-time board, and we kind of meet once a month, and we have an executive committee of 6 or 7. We meet every week. So these volunteers, are kind of regular troopers. When we have our special events, like we have a golf event, we have an annual gala, we go out to young girls basically like you. My grandkids form the nucleus, and they bring their friends in and they help out at these events, doing very important work to make these events happen. So that's basically where the volunteers help us out. We have a few people who have special skills in social media. We have few people who have, who are teachers here who want to help out with the curriculum development back there. So they come in on a task basis.
What role do mentors, volunteers, and community members play in the success of Edu Girls?
Uh, Even in the field, each school is run as an independent registered society, and they have their own local volunteers to help them out. We have chartered accountants who give their time to maintain the accounts of our schools. Uh, we have people who network with their friends to help resources for the schools. So the volunteers play a very important role in the field as well. And here, as I said, basically our volunteers are our board members, our executive committee members, and a few what we call ambassadors who kind of give of their time and give of their goodwill and tap into the networks to help promote the cause.
Have there been any moments during this journey that were especially memorable or rewarding for you?
I think the most shocking moment was when COVID came. We were just about to feel comfortable that we had a working model, and we thought all our investment of time and energy was going up in smoke because our girls coming from very poor backgrounds, there would be no food on the table and they would be on the street. That was our biggest shock. We were fortunate at that time that our donors believed in us. We had $100,000-$200,000 in the kitty, and we created looking back, a very creative, what we call COVID action agenda of 5 points. One was through the girls, we distributed rations. 1 million meals were distributed so that there was food on the table, and the family realized that the food was coming because the girl was in our schools. So they began to realize the value of the girl in the process. And then we bought into some software programs, and we distributed tablets to all our girls. So everybody had a tablet that she could take home. And online learning was conducted by teachers who were trained to use this bit of software. And then we recruited some others in the community to be mentors in the slums where these girls are living because the schools were closed. So these mentors provided a role. And then, so this agenda really transformed. First, our girls leaped into the digital technology learning forum. That was a big leap. And secondly, they did so well in their board exams when the school boards opened again in 2021 because they had this kind of learning support, which others may not have had. So we made an opportunity out of that crisis. But that was a very nerve-wracking 6, 9 months between um, May and October. May, when the COVID kind of hit us and schools started getting closed in October when we had digital devices in the hands of all our girls and teachers were teaching them online.
How does educating one girl create a positive impact on her family and community?
When you educate this one girl living in a family which has never had a school going person, she brings a lot of knowledge and expertise and confidence into the family. When she graduates, she does. She begins to do things that the family otherwise could not do, filling up forms and doing applications for this and that. But more importantly, as she graduates and gets into jobs, as you see, many of these girls double and quadruple family incomes, and the family really begins to appreciate them, and the community begins to change their attitudes to girls. That girls can, in fact, be professionals and can be a source of income and stability to the family. So the whole context changes. Once you have one success in one particular community, it radiates and everybody begins to change attitudes. So now, our dropout rates are virtually zero. Every girl coming in is graduating and getting into a job. When we started out, we had 10, 15% dropout rates because, parents had the smallest excuse would pull the girl back because they didn't realize the value of her education. But things have transformed in a very important way for us, and we don't have a struggle convincing the parents to send the girls to school or to stay and to graduate. So that phase which we faced initially, that phase is beyond us. People believe when they send a girl to one of our schools, and we start at kindergarten level, they know that she'll be taken care of all the way till she gets into a job and becomes a professional.
What skills do you believe are most important for young girls to develop today?
Speak your mind. That is the most important skill. Know your mind and be confident to speak your mind. That is
What
the
advice would you give to a teenage girl who dreams of making a difference but doesn't know where to start?
better. You need to repeat that question. I didn't pick it up.
What advice would you give to a teenage girl who dreams of making a difference but doesn't know where to start?
First, recognize how blessed we are here. Young girls going to government schools here, typically the society invests $15,000 to $25,000 per child per year. Back there, the investment in a child's education is probably $500 a year. So we have to first recognize that we are blessed, and secondly, realize the power of that dollar. You know, $1 a day is all it takes in our schools to transform the life of a little girl. Okay. So once you recognize these two things, you realize that you skip an ice cream, you skip a Starbucks coffee, and you get engaged in sponsoring a girl. And then you get connected to the girl, you get her report cards, you can Zoom with her, and you realize how powerful you are as an instrument of change. And I would invite youngsters to begin to appreciate their fortune, the power that they hold, because the dollar is king and strong, and the opportunity that dollar can create to actually transform a life and to see the transformation in action, because you will have this partnership throughout life as this girl grows through her career.
Looking ahead, what is your vision for the future of Edu Girls?
Uh, we want to really enhance the impact from what we have been able to achieve so far. So our goal is we have these what we call 10 mantra schools being developed in six different cities of India. And our hope is that in the next 5, 6 years, we will have one such school in every major state of India, which can serve as a beacon of excellence that it can be done. Girls can be educated, can be motivated to stay, can become professionals. But more importantly, But there are about 100 million kids who go to government schools to study. And the government schools have a very mixed reputation because the system of accountability for public servants, public teachers working, principals working in government schools has not been well developed. So we are trying now to develop a pilot program with two government schools in the state of Karnataka down in South India. And we hope that some of the methodologies that we have when they're applied in those situations will help improve the outcomes there. So we have done some baseline work in these government schools. We have assessed that their learning levels are 20% behind where the average private school in India is. And we hope within a few years to demonstrate that we have the methodology to bring that up. And if we succeed, then we want to be able to have a bigger impact, transferring some of our methodology to more government schools and therefore enhancing our impact.
How can our listeners support the mission of Edu Girls or get involved?
How can who?
Our listeners support the mission of Edu Girls or get involved?
I think there's one of having the confidence that even when you are sitting here 10,000 miles away from where the need is the most, you can make a difference. So that would be the first kind of milestone to cross, that yes, you can make a difference. And then you know, get engaged in a small way. My grandkids got engaged 10 years ago. They created a little chapter where they live, and they went around with their friends, and they've raised over the last 10 years probably $60,000, and they've been educating 10 girls from kindergarten all the way to high school, and they follow their progress, and they get engaged in meeting. When they travel to India, they met some of these girls. So that experience can be very rewarding. And the third one is to spread the message. You know, um, we are fortunate. There are less fortunate people out there whose lives we can transform, and let's get engaged.
If there's one message you would like every girl listening today to remember, what would it be?
You are as good as anybody else to transform this world, and this world needs you badly because there are people hungry, dying for support to transform their lives out of poverty, and you can make a difference.
Thank you so much for sharing both your personal journey and the inspiring story of Edu Girls. Your commitment to education, empowerment, and service reminds us that lasting change begins with one person choosing to make a difference. We are grateful for your time and wisdom today.
Wonderful, Beta. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to express myself. If you do decide to, when you travel to Jaipur next, visit our flagship school, Vimukti, in Jaipur. It will be my pleasure to organize that for you. And should you come back and inspired and want to do something in this domain, a small beginning, I would be behind you to help you set it up.
Thank you so much.
Be
Bye.
well, Beta. Okay. Bye bye. Say